After you have done this research, now you are almost ready to start the draft of your paper. But again, the writing process starts with a plan. Even if you have to write just a paragraph, you should always have a plan in mind. What should come first? What should come in the middle? What should come at the end? But we are talking about a longer essay, right? So you need to have a very clear plan. So you should decide, first of all, what is the answer you are going to make to the question given to you? Or in other words, what is your thesis statement? And then you also need to decide what information you are going to use to answer the question. Of course, the information will come from the notes that you have taken. And the notes came from the readings that you did during the research process. So you need to decide which of the information from the notes is actually going to be used in the essay. Then also consult your notes to make sure what examples or evidence you will use to support your arguments. And then think of the points you are going to expand in your essay. Also, what is going to be the order of those points? So you must maintain or give a particular order to the points. You cannot just randomly pick any point and talk about it. And then write those points in order. Write all that in point form. Maybe you can use a separate page for that purpose and write all those points over there. Once you write in point forms, what will go into your essay, then you have made the plan of your essay. Now, after you have planned your essay that way, now is the time to start writing the draft. Now, this is almost a universal structure of an essay. You first have the introduction, then you have the body, finally you have the conclusion. But when you write the introduction of your essay, these are the things that you must write in the introduction. The thesis statement that you already have established, then definition of the terms that you use in your thesis statement. For example, if your thesis statement is climate change is a reality, you write the very first sentence of your essay like that. In this essay, I argue that, or in this essay, I will establish that climate change is a reality. If this is the first sentence of your essay in the introduction paragraph, then after that, you can define the term that you just used, climate change. As you know, climate change is a scientific term and it has its own specific meanings. So in the second sentence, you can write, by climate change, I mean the gradual and consistent rise in the temperature of the earth. Additionally, in the introduction topic, you can also highlight the importance of that topic so that you can attract your reader to the topic on which you are writing. What is the significance of that topic? What is the relevance of that topic to our lives? So about climate change, for example, you can write the next sentence, the third one, as something like that. Climate change is a burning issue or hot issue, burning issue or very important issue of our uh, life these days, because uh, our survival as human species depends upon controlling the climate change, or our survival as a human species depends upon understanding this issue of climate change. Now, depending upon the topic on which you are writing, of course, you will have different terms to define, and you will have a different importance of the topic on which you are writing. So, for example, if you are writing uh, on online learning, and your thesis statement is that online learning is more productive and beneficial for the students, and you want to prove that through your essay, then of course you can define your terms online learning as, you can say that online learning is a kind of learning in which students and teachers interact through various online forums. Okay, and this definition is very important because some people confuse online learning with remote learning. Remote learning is not necessarily online. That could be through letters. Okay, there are other ways of communication as well. Anyways, I'm just giving you an example. And then in the third sentence, you can write about the importance of the topic. You might say that in recent times, uh, online learning is being excessively used. So it is high time to understand whether it is really useful or not. So this is how you then highlight the importance of that topic so that your reader develops interest in what you want to write. Now, after the introduction, usually it is one paragraph, you write the body of the essay. Now, in the body of the essay, students, you have paragraphs. You can organize your paragraphs the way you want, because depending upon the word limit that you are supposed to meet, you might decide to have a certain number of paragraphs. So 4 paragraphs or 5 or 6, that is your choice. That also depends upon the length of each paragraph that you make. So if you are thinking of, for example, 150 words or 200 words paragraph, then probably you will need like 10 to 12 paragraphs in your essay. So you have to very wisely choose the number of the paragraphs. In fact, when you know that the word limit is 2000 words, you will decide the number of paragraphs accordingly. Now, you can use one paragraph for one argument, or you can use 2 paragraphs for one argument. But try to keep consistency in how many paragraphs you want to give to each argument. We'll discuss it more in the next slide. Let's do conclusion first. Now, in the conclusion part, basically you restate your thesis. You know, you wrote the introduction on the top of the paragraph. You introduce your topic, you define your terms, you highlight its importance in the first paragraph. Then you wrote like 1,700 words or maybe 1,600 words to provide arguments in favor of your thesis. So while you were doing all this and your reader was reading through all those arguments, now your reader towards the end of your arguments is a little away from what was your original thesis on the top. So you don't expect your reader to conclude on it on his own or on her own that, well, yes, you have actually defended your thesis. You have actually proven your thesis statement. Your reader will not assume that. Therefore, you have to be explicit in stating at the end, in the conclusion paragraph, that you in fact have established the thesis that you stated in the first paragraph. So therefore, you restate your thesis along with summarizing the arguments. So for example, if your paragraphs were comprised of 4 arguments, one argument was about rising oceans, the other one was about melting glaciers, the third one was about chaotic weather system, and the fourth one was about food shortage. And you wrote those 4 arguments to support your thesis that climate change is a reality. Then in the conclusion paragraph, you can write something like this, that in light of the above argument, one can safely conclude that climate change in fact is a reality. But this is not enough. Rather, as I said, you need to summarize the arguments as well. So you can further write in the conclusion that you can start like this. Based upon the scientific evidence which is available, one can see that water levels are rising, comma, glaciers are melting, comma, weather system is disturbed, comma, and starvation is increasing, period. Now, in this one sentence, basically, you summed up all those 4 arguments that you wrote above. And then furthermore, you can write as the third sentence of your conclusion that scientific data, therefore, supports this thesis that climate change is a fact and we all should join hands to overcome it, a period. And that is the conclusion. So you not only restate your thesis, but you summarize your arguments as well. And that happens in the conclusion. Now, we need to understand the body in a little more detail. Now, basically what is important in the body paragraphs is the paragraph. Once we have understood in the past, in the beginning of the semester, how to write a paragraph. In fact, the explanation which I gave to you over there about a paragraph is equally valid over here. Okay, so regarding this distortion, probably we can rejoin then. Is my voice not still clear? The only thing we can do is we can restart the session. Can anybody tell me if the voice is clear, or those
Yes,
who
sir, clear.
those who are not able to hear, if only they can tell me.
Clear, sir.
Sir, it's clear.
Okay. So Sufia, would you mind rejoin, please? I think then the problem is at your end. Just rejoin the session. Okay, good. All right. So let's continue, students. Uh, give me a second. Okay, so about the paragraphs. So basically, each paragraph is a whole in itself. That is the first primary understanding that you should have. You know, even if you have the word limit of 2000 words, it's not that you randomly keep writing and writing and writing, but your essay should be well organized. You have to give it a certain structure. Only if your essay is well structured, it will be meaningful for your reader. So sometimes we just have the ideas and we keep writing them, and we think that our reader will easily understand what we wrote, but that is not the case. Okay, so I'm telling you as a reader, you know, only that essay or that article in a newspaper makes sense, which has very good structure. So we discussed that the Guardian article together, if you can recall, about climate change. You might recall how well structured was it. So the writer had just one point, you know, in each part of the essay. And he was arguing for one point at one time. When he finishes that, then he moves on to the next point, and then the next point, then the next point, and finally concludes. Okay. So this way, we need to give a structure to our essay. We are talking about structure of the essay right now. I already told you that you need to have uh, an introduction paragraph and a conclusion paragraph. But now we are going to talk about the paragraphs in between. They are called body paragraphs. Now for those paragraphs, each paragraph should have a topic sentence. We already learned that a topic sentence basically is an issue and an opinion about that issue, or a thing and an opinion about that thing, or a phenomenon and an opinion about that phenomenon. That is a topic sentence. So each paragraph that we write should have a topic sentence, which means that the first sentence of the paragraph should indicate what is going to follow in this paragraph. The first sentence of the paragraph should indicate what are you going to write in the rest of the paragraph. And then in the rest of the paragraph, you should only write about what you wrote in the topic sentence. We will understand it a little better if we look at the second point. After we write the topic sentence in a paragraph, then we need to write the sentences which support our topic sentence. For example, your topic sentence of the second paragraph in your essay after the introduction, the paragraph that you write, the topic sentence of that could be that climate change is a reality because glaciers are melting rapidly, a period. No, you have an opinion over here that climate change is a reality. You can also put it like this, make it a little more simple. Glaciers are melting rapidly because of climate change. Now, once you write this kind of sentence, then the rest of the sentences should support what you said. Second, third, fourth sentences, all of them should prove what you said in the topic sentence. Now, you, for example, can provide more information about this claim that glaciers are melting because of climate change. You can provide more information about that, where that information will come from. That information will come from your notes that you took while reading various articles on that particular topic. Now, in addition to the information, you can also provide evidence, which you might have seen in all those articles that you read. In addition to the information and the evidence which you provide to support your topic sentence, you can also give an analysis of your own. So where does the analysis come from? Analysis comes from your own mind. Sometimes you analyze the reading that you did and you point out any shortcoming in that particular reading. And sometimes you have a question in your mind which you think your reader will raise when they read your essay. So bring to your mind the point of rebuttal in the Tolman method. You know, previously you read the opinion pieces written by other people. Now you are the writer of an opinion piece in the form of this essay that you are going to write. So you should think the possible questions which your reader might ask related to the evidence and the arguments that you are providing. And then you should respond to those questions even before they have been asked. You can state the question and then you can provide an answer to that question. For example, you might say that in the supporting sentence, you might say that the evidence of melting glaciers is available from the observations made from the satellite. You are giving an evidence. You read it somewhere, okay? Maybe on NASA website, wherever. Now you are giving this as an evidence that the evidence of melting ice can be the evidence of the melting ice is a melting glacier can be seen from some of the pictures taken from the satellite. In those pictures, you can explain further. The satellite took image of the huge pieces of ice which are cutting off from the main body of the glacier. You provided your argument, right? Now the possible question, suppose you are my reader and I wrote this evidence to support my topic sentence. Now you might ask as a question, well, if the ice is breaking at one spot, maybe the ice is accumulating at another spot. So change is constant. It always happens. If the ice is breaking off at one spot, there are other spots where you have snow all the time. So ice is accumulating also. So the melting of ice is balanced by the freezing of the ice. Students, are you getting the possible question that people might have about the evidence that I'm providing? Now, if I'm a clever writer, I need to think beforehand the possible questions people might have about the evidence that I'm providing. Now, this is on the analysis part. Now, I might say, I might state that question. I might state that, well, now how will I state it? How will I write it in my paragraph? I will write it like this, that some people might believe or might think that the breaking off of the ice from glacier is balanced by freezing of the ice in some other parts of the world. Now I stated the question, I stated their objection to my evidence, right? Now I need to provide a rebuttal to that. So my rebuttal can be, I might say, that however, the scientific data and evidence show that the breaking of the ice far exceeds the freezing of the ice. Now, of course, I cannot say it in vacuum. I need to have something written, published somewhere, which I will cite then. So I would say that Miss so or so or Mr. so and so in that particular article has provided scientific data which shows that melting of the ice far exceeds the freezing of the ice. So this is my rebuttal to that possible objection to the evidence that I provided. Now, this is the analysis part. Now, in this case, now you have gone on to analysis part. What did you analyze? You analyzed the evidence that you got from somewhere. You went beyond that. These are the points which come to your mind when you do your reading with notes. You take notes, and whenever any point of this kind comes to your mind, you write that point over there in your own notes, so that when you write the essay, you should be able to address that point in the essay. So you do not just write a topic sentence and provide the evidence to support it. That is fairly simple task, not as simple, but still. Okay. But an advanced level argument would be where you state the possible objection to your evidence and then provide a rebuttal to that as well. All right. And then finally, you have a concluding sentence of that paragraph. Now, one thing that is important after the concluding sentence is, and of course, in a concluding sentence, you restate your topic sentence. By restating, we do not mean you exactly repeat it, but rephrase it in different words so that your reader understands that you have now established your topic sentence with evidence. Now, next very important point, it is about continuity. Now, all these paragraphs that you write, there should be a sense of continuity between those points. Each paragraph should be connected with its previous paragraph and with the paragraph after it. It's not difficult to do it. Just use meaningful transitions. Smooth transitions. Use smooth transitions between various parts of your essay. For example, after you have written the introduction, so when you write the introduction of your essay, the last sentence of your introduction essay can be, now I proceed to support my thesis statement with arguments. This could be the last sentence of your first paragraph. Now I proceed to support my thesis with arguments. You finish first para. Now, the second para that you write after introduction, you can begin that paragraph like this. My first argument is that, and then you continue to write the argument. after you finish the first argument or after you finish your first argument, which is your second para actually, then you can write the third para starting with my second argument is that. And then in the third para, my third argument is that. And then the fourth para, my fourth argument is that. And then when you reach the last para, you can write, now I conclude. Okay. Now I'm just giving you examples. You don't have to use the word first, second, third. You have to think of your own transitions, something of this kind, so that there is a sense of continuity between all the parts of your essay. Now, one very important thing regarding paragraphs and the length of paragraph. You don't have to compress your argument within one paragraph. You might like to write 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs for your argument, one argument. So for an argument, you can have the topic sentence and supporting sentences and evidence in first paragraph, and then analysis and concluding sentence in the second paragraph. All right. But still, your paragraph, both the paragraphs together, they will make perfect sense. Your reader will understand why did you start a new para, because you don't want to write a paragraph of 500 words. A paragraph of 150 to 200 words is just fine. Don't go beyond that. It is natural. If you cannot finish everything in one paragraph, you have to start a new paragraph. But don't write part of the evidence in one para and the other part of the evidence in another para. That will get confusing, right? So you can write the topic sentence, supporting sentences, and evidence in one para, and then analysis and concluding sentence in the second para. Okay. So this is the end of the presentation, students.